The first 3 items sold without trouble: a portable generator, 2 grain augers, a rust-stained utility trailer that had been sitting behind the north shed since Robert was alive. Each time Ben Carter brought down his gavel, the crowd shifted closer to the machinery parked along the field. Neighbors stood near the cider table, speaking in the lowered voices people used when they knew a family was in trouble, but had not yet decided how much they were allowed to ask. It was supposed to be our annual fall day. For almost 20 years, Robert and I had opened the farm after harvest. We sold pumpkins, served hot cider, and let children climb into an old tractor while their parents took pictures. That morning, the pumpkins were still arranged beside the barn. The cider was still steaming. But beyond the orange banners and folding tables, 7 pieces of equipment stood in a straight line waiting to be sold. Equipment Robert and I had spent decades paying for. My granddaughter Emily was near the calf pen with Earl Monroe's wife, Linda. She wore the red jacket I had bought her the previous winter, though the sleeves were already too short. Every few minutes she looked toward me. Each time our eyes nearly met, Vanessa called her attention somewhere else. My son Daniel stood beside his wife at the registration table, his hands inside his coat pockets. He had barely looked at me since I arrived. Vanessa placed a blue folder between us. The last colored tab was yellow and labeled Trustee Signature. She turned the folder toward me and placed a black pen across the line. "Everything else is ready," she said. Her voice was controlled, pleasant almost. Anyone standing a few feet away might have thought she was asking me to sign a school permission slip. I did not touch the pen. "What exactly are you asking me to approve?" "We have discussed this. You and Daniel have discussed it. I asked for the complete debt schedule and the final equipment list. And we gave you what you needed. You gave me what you wanted me to see." Daniel shifted but said nothing. Behind us, Ben announced the sale price of the utility trailer. The gavel struck. A few people applauded. Vanessa glanced towards Emily. "She needs stability. She needs to know the adults in her life support the same future." Emily was scratching the calf beneath his chin. She called him Clover, even after Earl explained 3 times that the calf was male. At my farmhouse, a red notebook waited for her. We had planned to record the temperature, the weight of the largest pumpkin, and the sound the dry corn leaves made when the wind crossed the field. She had not been allowed inside my house for 7 weeks. "Emily has nothing to do with the ownership of this equipment," I said. "Everything affects her." Daniel finally spoke. "Mom, we've been through the numbers." "No, Daniel. Naomi went through the numbers. You sat beside her." His eyes dropped. Vanessa pushed the folder closer. "If you sign this, we can put all of this behind us." "All of what?" "The fighting, the suspicion, the constant need to challenge every decision we make." "And Emily?" Vanessa paused. Only 2 seconds perhaps. But in those 2 seconds Daniel could have stopped her. He could have said his daughter would not be used in a discussion about property. He could have taken the folder away. He could have said that whatever mistakes I had made as a grandmother, my relationship with Emily would not be sold back to me in exchange for a signature. He did none of those things. Vanessa rested one finger on the yellow tab. "Sign the papers, and maybe we can start trusting you with Emily again." The noise of the crowd seemed to pull away. I could still see Ben on the auction platform. I could see a bidder lift his card. I could see Emily across the yard, one hand on Clover's back. But all I heard was the word maybe. I looked at my son. "Is that your decision too?" Daniel's face changed, but not enough to become anger or shame. "Mom," he said quietly, "this isn't the place." I waited. He said nothing else. That was his answer. For months, I had told myself Daniel was trapped between his wife and his mother. Standing beside that table, I understood the truth. He was not trapped. He had simply learned that the person who complained the least was the safest person to disappoint. For most of his life, that person had been me. Ben's voice rose over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're moving on to the first of the major equipment lots." The combine stood at the end of the row, washed and polished as if it were being prepared for a county fair instead of taken away from the farm that had paid for it. Vanessa tapped the pen. "We are out of time." I picked it up. For one hopeful second, Daniel looked directly at me. Then I placed the cap firmly over the tip and set the pen beside the folder. "I think you're right," I said. "We are." I reached for the brown file beneath my arm. Vanessa stared at it. "What is that?" I looked toward the platform as Ben began reading the combine specifications. "It's the part of this transaction you were hoping pressure would replace." 13 weeks earlier, I still believed the biggest problem between Vanessa and me was a box of cookies Emily had not been allowed to eat. I had no idea how much a cookie could cost. Emily called them grandma days. On those days, she ate breakfast at my kitchen table, wore old boots by the back door, and followed me around the farm carrying a red notebook almost as large as her chest. Across the cover, in silver marker, she had written Emily and Grandma Farm Book. That last week in July, Daniel dropped her off just after 8. Vanessa knows she's here, right? I asked. Of course, Daniel. He stopped halfway to his truck but did not turn around. I told her Emily would be with you today. That was not quite the same answer. I should have noticed. Instead, Emily and I spent the morning behind the equipment shed. She carried feed in while I checked Clover's latch. When the calf pushed his nose against her jacket pocket, she pulled out half an apple. Your mother said no more feeding him from your hand. I'm not. She placed the apple on the fence rail with the careful logic of a child who believed obedience depended entirely on wording. You are your father's daughter, I said. Is that good? Some days. Back at the farmhouse, I made cornbread. Vanessa had asked me to limit Emily's sugar during the week. Cornbread was not exactly dessert, but I added honey and let Emily eat a third piece. That was mistake number 1. After lunch, she was supposed to rest for 30 minutes. Instead, we sorted old photographs. She found one of Daniel at 12, standing beside Robert with a wrench in his hand. Dad had hair. He had too much of it. She laughed so loudly that I forgot the rest period. That was mistake number 2. The third was the dress. Vanessa had bought Emily a pale blue summer dress. The straps were too long, and I had spent half my life repairing clothes. Shortening them took 5 minutes. I did not ask first. At the time, I thought I was saving Vanessa a task. That was how I described many things I did without asking helping. Vanessa arrived shortly after 5 with her laptop bag over one shoulder and a sample box from Bennett Harvest Kitchen under her arm. Emily ran to her. Mom, Grandma fixed my dress, and we made sweet cornbread, and I didn't have to nap, because Grandma says rules are different here. The room went still. Children rarely understand which sentence contains the match. Vanessa looked at the empty plate and then at the folded dress. You altered it? The straps were slipping. I was going to return it. You never said that. I didn't know I needed to announce every plan before bringing something into this house. This is still my house. The moment I said it, I knew it was the wrong answer. That is exactly the problem. Vanessa said. I sent Emily to put away her boots. Then Vanessa listed the food rule, the missed rest, and the dress. I defended each one as if good intentions changed the result. You changed the rules, she said. Then Emily comes home and tells me things are easier here, because Grandma doesn't make her listen. I have never told her not to listen to you. You tell her the rules are different here. To a child, that is the same thing. I wanted to argue. Instead, I heard Emily's words in Vanessa's head voice. Grandma says rules are different here. It no longer sounded harmless. Daniel entered through the back door smelling of dust and engine oil. He looked from Vanessa to me and seemed relieved that no one was hurt and nothing was broken. It sounds like everybody got a little carried away, he said. No, Vanessa replied. Your mother made decisions about our daughter after I specifically asked her not to. Mom probably didn't mean anything by it. I didn't say she meant to hurt anyone. Then maybe we can just stop. Daniel fell silent. Vanessa looked at him. I cannot be the only parent whose rules matter only when your mother agrees with them. Daniel turned toward me with the expression he had used since childhood whenever Robert expected an explanation. He wanted me to make the problem smaller, for years. I should have asked before changing the dress, I said. And I should have followed the schedule, I'm sorry. Vanessa waited as if she expected the apology to contain more. From now on, she said, you need to ask before picking Emily up or changing the plan. I have picked her up from school for years. And now I am asking you to confirm first. I looked toward the hallway. Emily stood there holding her boots against her chest. All right, I said. I'll ask. At the door, Emily hugged me. See you Saturday? Of course, Vanessa opened the door. We'll confirm. The phrase sounded ordinary, so did the click when the door closed. 3 days later, Daniel called at 2:17 in the afternoon. Mom, I need a favor. The irrigation pump on the west field is overheating. Can you pick Emily up? Did you ask Vanessa? I told her I might not make it. She has a meeting in Cedar Rapids. Does she know you're asking me? Mom, the pump is already failing. Daniel had always been skilled at answering a question by presenting a more urgent one. I should have insisted. Instead, I reached for my keys. I'll get her. Thanks. I owe you. Those words never meant he intended to repay anything. They meant he believed the conversation was over. Emily came out of school carrying a purple backpack and a paper windmill. When she saw me, she ran forward. Grandma! Then I saw Vanessa approaching from the opposite side of the parking lot. Her meeting had ended early. I told you not to pick her up without asking me, she said. Daniel called. I didn't ask what Daniel did. He said you couldn't come. You had my number. So did your husband. Emily's paper windmill bent beneath her fingers. Vanessa noticed and sent her to wait beside the front office. Daniel arrived several minutes later and slowed the moment he saw us. Did you tell your mother I knew she was picking Emily up? Vanessa asked. I told Mom you couldn't make it. That was not my question. The pump was failing. Did you ask me? No. She turned to me. Did you ask whether he had spoken to me? I did. What did he say? Daniel gave the smallest shake of his head. It was not a request to tell the truth. It was a request to protect him from it. He said he had told you Emily would be with me. Vanessa's face changed into recognition. You did the same thing again, she said to him. You made 2 promises because you didn't want either of us upset. It was a misunderstanding. No, you kept the explanation vague because you knew one of us would solve the problem for you. Daniel looked around the parking lot. This is not the place for this. The sentence sounded familiar even then. Vanessa looked through the office glass where Emily was watching us. We are already doing it in front of her. I wanted to defend Daniel. The pump had been failing. He had been under pressure. Those were the explanations I had offered for him his entire life. Vanessa was not wrong. I should have called you, I said. Yes, I believe Daniel had handled it. He didn't. For a moment, I thought the argument might end there. Then Vanessa said, I'm removing you from the automatic pickup list. My chest tightened. You said I only needed to confirm first. Today proved that verbal arrangements do not work. You can still pick her up when Daniel and I both confirm it with the school. The word authorization struck harder than it should have. For years, teachers had called me when Emily was sick. I had brought forgotten lunches and attended school programs when her parents were working. Now I would be a name requiring special approval. Daniel finally objected. Mom has been on the list since kindergarten. Then you can explain to the school why you sent 2 people to pick up your daughter. He fell silent. Emily came through the doors. Did I do something wrong? No, Vanessa and I said together. Daniel said nothing. I knelt in front of her. You did absolutely nothing wrong. Then why can't I go with you? Because we changed the plan, Vanessa said. I kissed Emily's forehead. I'll see you Saturday. We'll confirm, Vanessa replied as their car pulled away. Emily's paper windmill pressed against the window. One blade had torn. Daniel stood beside me. I'm sorry, which part? The whole thing. That is not an answer. The pump really was failing. I believe you. I do not understand why telling the truth was harder than making both of us look unreasonable. You sound like her. No, I said. She sounds right. The words surprised both of us. That Saturday I set out 2 bowls for breakfast. Emily never came. Vanessa canceled Grandma Day at 7:12 that morning. Her message said, Emily needed a quiet weekend, that the family needed consistency, and that they would reach out when they were ready to reschedule. I placed the second bowl back in the cupboard and baked the cornbread anyway. At 10, Daniel called. Don't take this personally. How should I take it? Vanessa is still upset. Everybody needs a little space. Emily too? She's fine. That is not what I asked. Daniel sighed. She was confused after Thursday. She asked whether she had done something wrong. I told her the adults had a scheduling problem. She is already inside the problem, Daniel. I've got to go. We're waiting on a packaging delivery. He ended the call. Bennett Harvest Kitchen operated from a converted storage building on the east side of the property. 6 years earlier, Vanessa had started with preserves, cornbread mix, and seasonal gift baskets sold from folding tables at the farmer's market. I had labeled the first jars. Robert built the first display stand. Daniel hauled boxes. Vanessa had done the rest. She redesigned the packaging, negotiated with stores, and turned a small local business into something recognized across several counties. Whatever happened later, that achievement belonged to her. By noon, 3 employees were standing outside the packing building. No delivery truck was in sight. Finished products sat on pallets without boxes. The supplier made a scheduling error, Vanessa said. When will they arrive? Monday. Daniel came around the corner carrying a clipboard. Mom, I was going to come see you. That usually means you need something. We went into the office. A poster on the wall showed the Harvest Kitchen logo beneath the words "Ground with Tradition." Made for tomorrow. We need to move some operating cash temporarily, Daniel said. From where? The farm account. How much? Vanessa opened a spreadsheet. 35,000 for immediate vendor commitments. Is that everything overdue? It is what we need right now. Again, not an answer. I asked whether the supplier had stopped delivery because it had not been paid. Vanessa called it an account issue. Daniel called it a timing problem. Neither gave me the full vendor balance. Then Vanessa said, "The equipment trust has reserves." There it was, not the full plan, only the first careful step toward it. The trust is not a checking account, I said. No one said it was. But the family has capital that is not being used efficiently. The equipment is used every day. The capital tied up in it is not. Daniel moved toward the window. Vanessa continued. We are trying to build something that can survive beyond commodity prices and weather, and accurate reports would help. You always return to reports. Because reports do not change depending on who is asking. A retailer called and Vanessa left the room. I asked Daniel how much they really needed. We can handle it. Then handle it without trust reserves. You say you want me to run the farm, but you still hold the things that give me room to make decisions. Daily control does not mean selling or borrowing against every asset when cash gets tight. No one said anything about selling. He answered too quickly. What have you discussed? Options. What kind? We're trying to get through one difficult quarter. He left without explaining. That afternoon, Susan Keene from Heartland Equipment Cooperative called about the annual trust inventory. We received an inquiry about adjusting coverage status on the combine, she said. From whom? Operations. Was my authorization attached? No, that is why I called. What kind of adjustment? Pre-transfer review. I gripped the receiver. Do not change anything. I wouldn't without trustee approval. Send me the request. On my way home, I saw a white envelope beneath a stack of invoices through the Harvest Kitchen office window. Past due. Second noter. It was not addressed to me. I did not enter or open it. For years, Vanessa had accused me of believing every closed door in the Bennett family was still mine to walk through. I was trying to prove her wrong. That evening, Emily called. Her face appeared briefly before the camera tilted toward the ceiling. Mom says I can talk for 5 minutes. Vanessa's voice came from outside the frame. I said we're leaving in 5 minutes. Emily corrected herself. We're leaving in 5 minutes. Are you coming next Saturday? I asked. She looked toward someone beside her. Mom says we need space. What do you think? I don't know. You are allowed not to know. Then Vanessa called for her, and the screen went dark. The missing delivery, the request for money, and the insurance inquiry should have worried me most. They did not. What frightened me was how quickly Emily had begun checking her mother's face before speaking. The following Tuesday, I returned a library book Emily had left in my car. Mrs. Wallace, the school secretary, took it from me with an apologetic expression. I can send it to her classroom, she said. I only wanted to say hello. I'm sorry, Margaret. You're no longer listed as an authorized pickup person. The change had come through Emily's parent account. We notify parents when a contact changes, Mrs. Wallace explained. We do not usually contact the person removed. Her explanation was reasonable. That did not make it hurt less. I called Daniel from the parking lot. Did you know Vanessa removed me? She said she wanted the school arrangements clarified. Clarified? It's temporary. How long? I don't know. Mom, just give Vanessa some time. Time. The word he used whenever he wanted someone else to carry a problem until it became less uncomfortable for him. That evening, Vanessa came to the farmhouse alone. You keep acting as though every boundary is an attempt to hurt you, she said. Removing my name without telling me felt deliberate. It was deliberate. That does not mean it was cruel. Those are not opposites. She said she needed consistency. I admitted I had treated rules I disliked as suggestions made by someone with less experience. I have made you defend decisions you should not have had to defend, I said. I am sorry, but apologies do not work if nothing changes. I agree. I will follow the rules for food, schedules, and pickup. But tell me what rebuilding trust requires. Respecting our decisions. For how long do I lose visits? I don't know. Then this is not a boundary with a clear condition. It is permission that may never come. This conversation is exactly why we need distance. Before she left, I said, please do not make Emily think loving me is disloyal to you. She is my daughter. I know, you don't always act like it. The next morning, the school confirmed my new status. Contact only with parental approval. Vanessa had not closed every door. She had simply made sure she held the key to each one. 4 days later, Daniel brought Emily to the farmhouse without warning. She ran across the yard and hugged me. He stayed near the truck. "We can stay a little while," he said. "Does Vanessa know?" "She has a meeting." That was not my question. "She thinks Emily is with me." A secret visit measured in minutes. At the calf pen, Emily said, "Mom said no feeding Clover without asking. Your mother is right." She looked surprised. "Is that why I can't come here?" "No. Mom says we need space because you don't listen." "Are you going to listen now?" "Yes." "Then can I come back?" Daniel said, "We're working on it." "You always says you're working on things," Emily replied. She brushed Clover quietly, then asked, "Are you making Dad sell the farm?" My hand stopped. "Who told you that?" "Mom said everybody has to help." "But you don't want to." She said, "You're fighting the plan." I crouched beside her. Adults can disagree about how to solve something. That does not mean the family is disappearing. Is it because of me? "No," Daniel and I said together. "Then, why does Mom get upset when I ask to see Grandma?" Daniel's phone lit with Vanessa's name. He walked away to answer. A minute later, he returned. "We have to go." Emily looked at him. "You didn't tell her we came?" "I was going to." "When?" He did not answer. 17 minutes after they arrived, he opened the truck door. "Are you mad at me?" "No. Sweetheart. Daniel closed the door before I finished. Perhaps he did not realize he had done it. That was the problem with Daniel. Many of the most damaging things he did could be described as accidents if you looked at them one at a time. On Monday, Susan's envelope arrived. The combine request was marked anticipated transfer or disposition within 60 days. The contact name was Daniel Bennett. According to the date, my son had begun preparing to move the combine 3 weeks earlier. I placed the request on my kitchen table and called Daniel. He arrived just before noon. "Did you submit this?" "It came through operations." That was not my question. He admitted he had asked for a review because they were evaluating ways to improve cash flow. By transferring the combine, possibly, the combine is not an asset you have. Operations maintains it, insures it, and stores it. Because operations uses it, the trust owns it. That is exactly the problem. The words escaped before he could soften them. He said the farm carried too much capital and machinery and could hire custom operators instead. I asked for projections, contracts, and expected delays during harvest. "They're not finished." "Then you have not done the projections. You turn every conversation into an audit. You submitted a transfer inquiry involving property you do not own. No transfer can happen without the paperwork." There it was. He knew my approval stood between the idea and the transaction. "Then withdraw the request." "I can't do that without discussing it with Vanessa. The request concerns trust property. It affects the whole business." He left for the Harvest Kitchen office. I followed later and found Earl beside the Westfield pump. "Did anyone inspect the combine?" I asked. "A man from Carter Auctions came last week." "What else did he inspect?" 2 tractors and the planter. He photographed them and copied a serial number." "Why didn't you call me?" Earl folded his rag. "Because every time someone goes around Daniel and comes to you, it makes him look like a boy whose mother still runs the farm." These answers stung because I understood it. "And if he is trying to sell equipment he does not own." I didn't know that was what this was. Inside the packing building, Vanessa called the inspection strategic planning. "If equipment may be sold," she said, "buyers need accurate information." "Which equipment?" "The list is not final." "Show me the current version." No, the refusal was clean. "Then no trust asset moves. You cannot make a decision without seeing the plan." "I cannot approve a plan you refuse to show me." Vanessa said the machines trapped capital that could build a business with better margins. "You built something valuable," I told her. "That does not make every family asset available whenever the business needs cash." The office door opened. Daniel stood there with Naomi Price from Heartland Community Bank. Naomi managed the farm's operating line. She carried a leather folder and the expression of a woman who did not care which family member won an argument. "I need the consolidated obligation schedule," she said. "Every obligation tied to operations or supported by its cash flow." Vanessa said vendor balances changed weekly, then provide the aging report. Naomi replied. "The bridge facility is outside your bank. It still affects repayment capacity." I looked at Daniel. "What bridge facility?" He did not answer. Naomi glanced at him. I assumed Mrs. Bennet had been informed if trust equipment was part of the proposed funding plan. The plan is preliminary, Vanessa said. Then the bank's review is preliminary. Naomi listed what she required: revolving credit, vendor aging, short-term financing, outstanding guarantees, and proposed asset proceeds. A sale can create cash, she said. That does not automatically solve the underlying problem. That evening, Vanessa messaged me. We are trying to unlock capital that is being wasted while the family business is under pressure. I replied. Show me the full plan. She did not respond. The following Thursday, Daniel arrived carrying the blue folder. I brought what you asked for. The complete obligation schedule. Not yet. This is part of it. The title read Early Transfer and Sale Offer. This does not say update. It updates the transfer schedule. The equipment would move to operations before the 5-year period ends, and then operations could sell it. If that made financial sense. The document already authorized a sale, but Exhibit A, the asset list, was marked to be finalized. You want me to authorize a transfer before telling me which assets? The list will be attached before execution. Then bring it back when the list exists. He asked me to hear him out. I asked for the debt total. We're still consolidating. How much do you owe vendors? It changes. How much did you owe this morning? He did not know. You manage operations. Vanessa manages Harvest Kitchen. Harvest Kitchen is part of operations. Its debt is operations debt. It is more complicated. Complicated is not the same as unknowable. Daniel stared through the window at the combine. When Dad bought that machine, we farmed differently. We also harvested our own crops. We can hire custom operators. At what annual cost? We're working on it. He accused me of treating every machine Robert bought as if selling it would erase him. I am not protecting the combine because your father touched it, I said. I am protecting the farm's ability to operate. Then I reached the signature page. Daniel had already signed as manager of Bennett Farms Operations LLC. My line as trustee remained blank. When did you sign this? It's a draft. You signed it to show operations approves the plan, before the list, before the debt review. We do not have time to wait for every report. That is when people most need reports. He finally revealed the bridge facility, $150,000, borrowed 5 months earlier to meet a production commitment. Did you read the terms? Yes. The answer came too quickly. I waited. Vanessa reviewed most of it, he admitted. He said the sale proceeds would pay vendor debt, the credit line, and other short-term needs. What other needs? He looked away. The document would deposit all net proceeds into operations. There was no restriction keeping the money with the farm. It could support Harvest Kitchen, cover overdue vendors, or preserve the expansion for another quarter. I closed the folder. I am not signing without the complete debt schedule, the final equipment list, the projected proceeds, the annual custom harvest cost, and a 12-month cash flow. We don't have 12 months. Then you do not have a viable plan. We have weeks. That does not make a bad plan better. Daniel looked tired enough that I nearly softened. I nearly offered to call Naomi and carry a smaller version of the crisis for him. That was our old pattern. Daniel created a problem. I found a piece of it and carried it instead. This time, I kept my hands folded. Bring me complete information. He stood with the folder against his chest. Vanessa says you only ask for more because you don't want to let go. What do you say? He looked toward the door. I say we're out of time. 20 minutes after he left, Vanessa called. She said I was turning a crisis into another test Daniel had to pass. I said he had signed an authorization before showing me the assets or the debts. You care about being right, she said. I care about knowing what I am signing. Emily is learning from this. My grip tightened. What is she learning? That every decision her parents make can be challenged by you. She asked whether I was making Daniel sell the farm. Stop making her believe a financial disagreement determines whether she can love me. When this family stops being pulled in 2 directions, we can revisit grandma days. What restores trust? Support, for the sale. For the family, so when I stop opposing the sale, I may see Emily again. That is not what I said. It is exactly what you arranged the words to mean. She ended the call. A minute later, her message appeared. When you stop fighting us on the sale, we can discuss visits again. I printed it. Paper did not sigh. It did not look away. It did not ask for more time. The next morning, Naomi called. The problem is larger than the bridge facility, she said. I'll review the confirmed numbers with everyone at 10. In the bank conference room, she turned over a spreadsheet. The total was $418,000. Packaging and vendor payables, $164,000. Revolving operating line, $104,000. Short-term bridge facility, $150,000. The numbers added cleanly. The situation did not. $98,000 of vendor debt was more than 60 days overdue. Another $41,000 was between 30 and 60 days. The operating line was drawn to $104,000 against a limit of $110,000. $6,000 of room remained. That was not flexibility. That was a door almost completely closed. Vanessa pointed to $186,000 in receivables. But Naomi explained that some were late and some were disputed. That is an assumption. Naomi said when Vanessa insisted they would be collected, not cash. The bridge payment was due in 30 days. No extension had been approved. I asked Daniel when he first saw the total. Monday, it was Friday. He had brought the authorization to my kitchen on Thursday. When you asked me to sign, you knew? The balances were still being confirmed. Did the preliminary total say approximately $418,000? Within a few thousand. Until then, part of me had believed Daniel was moving through the crisis one step behind Vanessa. Careless, frightened, overwhelmed. But not knowingly dishonest. He had looked across my kitchen table and asked for control of nearly $700,000 in equipment, while hiding more than $400,000 in obligations. Not because he did not know. Because he's hoped I would sign before I asked enough questions. Vanessa explained the plan. They expected roughly $519 at auction, or about $560,000 after commissions and closing costs. The proceeds would pay the $418,000, another $20, Susan in interest and fees, about $65,000 in machinery deposits and custom operation contracts, and leave approximately $57,000 in working capital. Naomi estimated annual custom operator and equipment rental costs at $118,000. What happens if harvest weather closes in and the operator is delayed? I asked. We negotiate priority service, Daniel said, with whom we've talked to 2 operators. Signed contracts, not final. Guaranteed capacity? No one guarantees weather. That was not my question. Vanessa said Harvest Kitchen would become profitable once expansion costs leveled out. Naomi said that was possible if returns decreased and distributors paid on time. Again, the plan depended on future money behaving exactly as hoped. Naomi asked the question that mattered most. Does operations currently have authority to sell the trust assets? No, I said. Not yet, Vanessa said at the same time. Daniel admitted the authorization was pending my signature. Then the bank cannot treat the sale proceeds as committed funds, Naomi said. Vanessa replied that family approval was expected. Another word that made a promise sound as if it already existed. I offered alternatives. Seek a bridge extension, document vendor negotiations, reduce the expansion, collect receivables, and sell assets operations actually owned. That will not raise enough, Vanessa said. Then the business has a problem the trust equipment cannot permanently solve. You would let Harvest Kitchen fail? I would not destroy the farm's ability to operate in order to avoid admitting the expansion failed. She accused me of never believing in what she had built. I labeled your first jars, I said. I respected enough to ask for real numbers before putting the farm beneath it. I wrote Naomi that afternoon. No equipment owned by the Bennett Family Equipment Trust has been approved for transfer, sale, pledge, or use as a committed repayment source. Vanessa replied that I was freezing their only realistic option before allowing them to finalize it. You asked for my signature before you finalized it, I wrote. The debt total had finally been answered. A more painful question replaced it. How far had Daniel already gone while assuming my answer did not matter? 3 days later, Earl asked me a question beneath the larger deer tractor. You signed off on the combine? No. His brow tightened. Not at all. I have authorized nothing. Earl told me Daniel had reserved Ben Carter for a consignment auction during our annual fall day. The preliminary categories included major field equipment, grain handling, and smaller shop assets. Did Daniel say I approved it? He said. The paperwork will be in place before the sale. A public date, a ready crowd. An event I would hesitate to disrupt. I found Daniel in the South office. You signed an agreement with Ben. It is preliminary, show me. The white folder was labeled Preliminary Auction Consignment Agreement. Daniel had signed as manager. The date matched the fall event. One sentence was underlined in blue. Consignor represents that it possesses, or will possess before the time of sale, All authority necessary to transfer clear title to listed assets. What did you tell Ben? That the transition paperwork was being updated. Did you tell him I had approved it? I said we expected approval. On what basis? You knew we were considering a sale. Knowing you want my signature is not agreeing to give it. The agreement allowed Ben to suspend any lot if ownership or authority was disputed. Then Vanessa entered. We were going to present the final plan when it was complete, she said. You scheduled a public sale before presenting it. We had to reserve the date. You chose the fall event Robert and I built because the buyers would already be here. And because I would hesitate to challenge you in front of them. She refused again to show the current asset list. I asked if my refusal would affect visits with Emily. We will decide what is healthy for her, Vanessa said. Based on what? Trust. What restores trust? Support for the sale? For this family. The words circled the truth without touching it. Daniel stepped between us. This isn't helping. You signed an auction agreement before asking me, I said. You know my visits are being linked to cooperation, and you keep pretending none of it is connected. He opened his mouth, nothing came out. Vanessa said they would continue preparing because they were out of time. You built a public sale around an approval you did not have. I told them. Daniel lowered his voice. We built it around the belief that you would help save the company. No. You built it around the belief that I would be too afraid of losing my family to say no. Neither answered. I left without a copy of the agreement. But I knew enough. Daniel had signed. The fall date was reserved. Major equipment was being prepared. Authorization had been promised but not obtained. And Ben could suspend disputed lots. I printed Vanessa's message twice. One copy went into the brown folder with the transfer request, and my statement to Naomi. The second remained on the kitchen table. When you stop fighting us on the sale, we can discuss visits again. Vanessa had protected herself with the word discuss. If I signed, she might discuss visits. If I refused, the discussion would not happen. The promise was vague, the pressure was not. I called Daniel. Did you know she sent this? She told me you two had talked. Did you know she was making visits depend on whether I stopped opposing the sale? That is not how she sees it. I did not ask how she sees it. He said everything came back to trust and respect for their authority. As Emily's parents or as people trying to sell trust property. To Vanessa, there is no difference. There should be a difference to you, he sighed. After the sale, things will calm down. And then Vanessa may let me see Emily again? We can get everybody in a room. You want me to sign first and trust that she will decide later whether I have proved myself. He said I treated every compromise like surrender. What am I being asked to compromise? The equipment. Property owned by the trust. It was always supposed to come to me. After you completed the transition conditions. Then Daniel admitted the first honest piece of what had been driving him. I am trying to keep my marriage together. Does your marriage depend on keeping Emily away from me? No. Then separate the issues. You don't understand what things are like at home. Vanessa thinks I make her take every hard position and then let you blame her for it. She had a reason to believe that. Daniel's secret 17-minute visit had proved it. He said Emily had asked about me again. What did she ask? If you were mad at her. The words hurt even though I had heard them before. What did you tell her? That grandma isn't mad at you. Did she believe you? I don't know. She asked why you hadn't called. I have called. I told her the adults needed time. She needs the truth she can understand. None of this is her fault. She does not need to fix it, and loving me does not mean betraying her mother. Daniel said Vanessa believed visits would confuse Emily while I fought the sale. So you know, I said. I know she sees the conflicts as the same problem. And what do you, as Emily's father, choose? I'm not choosing between my wife and my mother. That is not the choice. The choice is whether your daughter's relationship with someone she loves can be withheld to influence a property decision. You are making it sound ugly. It is ugly. He called it a consequence. For whom? I asked. He did not answer. That ended my waiting. I went upstairs to Robert's office and opened the metal filing cabinet. The Bennett 5-year stewardship plan carried Robert's signature, mine and Daniel's. Its conditions were simple. Annual financial disclosure. No vendor debt more than 60 days overdue, a minimum operating reserve, and no transfer of core equipment without trustee authorization. Daniel had called them cautious, Vanessa had called them outdated, Robert had called them guardrails. The equipment use and maintenance agreement authorized operations to use, maintain, and insure the machines. It did not authorize sale, pledge, long-term lease, or title transfer without written trustee approval. Daniel had signed it. The annual trust inventory listed 7 core assets: the combine, 2 tractors, the planter, the sprayer, the grain cart, the portable drying system. Each had a serial number and ownership record. I had given Daniel the right to use the equipment. I had not given him the right to sell it. And what Vanessa called trust had begun to mean only one thing: my willingness to stop saying no. Earl came to the farmhouse at 8:20 on Thursday night holding a folded catalog. It went final this afternoon. He said the cover read Bennett Fall, Consignment Auction, Saturday at 9:30, 6 hours away. The first pages listed welding equipment, a generator, augers, a utility trailer, and shop tools. Assets operations actually owned. Then came the major equipment. The combine's serial number matched the trust inventory. So did the larger tractor, the smaller tractor, the planter, the sprayer, the grain cart, the drying system. All 7, not selected equipment. Every core asset in the trust. I thought you'd signed off, Earl said. Then I saw the combine number. What did Daniel tell you? That the transfer would be handled at the event. At the event, the blue folder, the yellow tab, the black pen, the crowd. He plans to get my signature Saturday morning. That's what it sounded like. I thanked Earl and called Daniel to the equipment shed. A white tag hung from the combine steps, Lot 34. You plan to ask for my signature after the buyers arrived, I said. We plan to complete the paperwork before the major equipment sold. You plan to make refusal look like sabotage. He claimed the 7 machines were the only way to raise enough money. Withdraw lots 34 through 40. No. It was the clearest answer he had given me in months. You do not have authority to sell them. We will when you sign. I am not signing. Then the bridge facility may default. Harvest Kitchen may collapse. People may lose jobs. And selling the machines creates another $118,000 in annual cost with no guaranteed harvest capacity. We will solve that later. That is how you reached $418,000. He accused me of thinking he was incompetent. I told him he was a good farmer who had kept fields planted and crews working. Then why can't you trust me? Because you know the debt, know the agreement, signed the auction papers, and still expect me to surrender the final authority. He said Robert had never trusted him. Your father understood what panic could do to a business. I defended you from him for most of your life. That is not fair. It is true. I protected you so often that you began believing consequences meant someone did not love you. The words hurt both of us. I should have let you answer for more of your own mistakes, I said. So this is punishment? No. This is the first time I am refusing to turn your decision into my responsibility. Daniel said he would not pull the lots, then Ben will verify authority before he sells them. His head lifted. What have you done? Nothing yet. Withdraw them. We can't. You can. No. I gave him until 8 o'clock Saturday morning. If he withdrew the 7 trust lots, I would not challenge the auction. Operations could still sell its own smaller assets. I was not trying to destroy the event. Daniel left without agreeing. At 10 that night, I called Susan. She confirmed that all 7 assets remained recorded under the trust and no transfer had been executed. She agreed to bring certified records and verify serial numbers at the farm. I can verify records, she said. I cannot give legal advice. I'm not asking you to. Then I called Ben. Daniel had told him the final transfer documents would be completed before the major equipment section. They will not, I said. Ben asked for the trust records. I told him I would provide them before Lot 34. Are you asking me to cancel the whole event? No, sell what operations owns. Do not sell disputed property. He flagged lots 34 through 40 pending documentation. My final call was Naomi. The bank could not recognize the anticipated proceeds without lawful authority. The restructuring review would pause. Friday passed without a corrected catalog. Vanessa sent one message. I hope you understand that disrupting tomorrow will have consequences for everyone, including Emily. I did not respond. At midnight, the brown folder sat beside the farm book. One contained proof of what the trust owned. The other contained a child's drawings of calves, rainfall, and pumpkin vines. Daniel and Vanessa had tried to place those things on opposite sides of a choice. I finally understood that accepting their choice would not protect Emily. It would teach them they could use her again. By 7:30 Saturday morning, Pickup trucks lined the county road. Ben's crew had placed registration tables beside the machine shed. The pumpkins were arranged near the barn. Steam rose from the cider urns. Anyone arriving would have believed the Bennett family had agreed to all of it. I had not. Susan stood near the cooperative truck with her document case. Naomi was beside the registration tent. Neither approached me. Susan was there to verify records. Naomi was there because the bank had been told auction proceeds would support a restructuring plan. At 8, I checked my phone. No withdrawal notice. Daniel had made his decision. Emily stood near the calf pen with Linda, wearing her red jacket. When she saw me, she lifted one hand, then looked toward Vanessa. "Stay with Mrs. Monroe, please," Vanessa called. Emily lowered her hand. I wanted to cross the yard, but I would not turn her into the center of another confrontation. Daniel met me beside the smaller lots. "You called Ben, Naomi, and Susan. I came to you first. You made it sound like we were committing fraud." I said the transfer was incomplete. He said the blue folder was ready, and asked me to sign privately before the major lots. "The buyers are already here," I said. "That changes the pressure." He warned me that Vanessa would never forgive me if I stopped the sale, not the lender. Not the employees, not the farm. "Vanessa, you still think the greatest danger is your wife being angry. I am protecting my marriage. By allowing your daughter to be used against your mother, stop saying that. Then separate the visits from the sale. You know she doesn't see them that way. And you." He looked toward the crowd and walked away. "The generator, augers, and utility trailer sold legally. I did not object. The auction was not the problem. The 7 trust assets were." Shortly before Ben moved to major equipment, Vanessa approached with the blue folder. Daniel followed. She opened the final exhibit, lots 34 through 40, all 7 machines. Daniel's signature was on the company line. Mine was blank. "We have provided the final list," she said. "After the auction began, before the equipment sale, you had time to photograph and advertise every machine. You did not have time to give me contracts, insurance, or a viable cash flow plan. We do not have time for another list of conditions." She placed a black pen across my signature line. "Everything else is ready. What happens if I sign? The equipment transfers, the lots sell, the debt is paid down, and Emily? This is not the time. You made it the time. Tell me my relationship with her is separate from this signature." Vanessa looked toward the calf pen. "Emily needs stability. She needs adults who do not make her affection part of a negotiation. You are refusing to support her parents. I am refusing to sign away site trust property. Your control of the trust does not make you a third parent. I know. I have admitted where I crossed boundaries." Daniel shifted. "Can we please finish this?" I kept my eyes on him. "Do you agree that Emily's visits should depend on whether I sign, Mom? That is a yes or no question." Vanessa answered instead. "This family cannot rebuild trust while you work against us." Ben's voice came over the speakers. "After this next lot, we'll move to lot 34, the combine. Vanessa pushed the folder closer. If you sign, the debt can be addressed today. And if I do not, you know what happens." To Emily, her voice lowered. "Sign the papers, and maybe we can start trusting you with Emily again." I heard the word maybe more clearly than anything else. Daniel stood close enough to hear every word. He did not object. "Is that your decision too?" I asked. His eyes met mine, then moved toward the crowd. "Mom, this isn't the place." I waited. He said nothing else. I picked up the pen. Daniel's shoulders lowered with relief. Then I capped it and placed it beside the folder. "I think you're right," I said. "We are out of time." I lifted the brown file from my bag and walked toward lot 34. Ben stood beside the combine with his microphone. "Late model combine, professionally maintained, Ben." He lowered the microphone. He had been watching for me. "I need the serial number read before you accept a bid." The crowd quieted. "Lot 34 is flagged for document verification," Ben announced. Vanessa stepped forward. "The authorization is being completed. Has it been signed by the trustee?" Ben asked. "It will be." "No," I said. "It will not." Daniel called it a family paperwork issue. Ben's expression hardened. Ownership authority is not only a family issue once buyers are asked to bid. His assistant read the serial number from the combine. Susan compared it with the certified trust inventory. "It matches the Bennett family equipment trust record," she said. Vanessa argued that operations had maintained and insured the machine. "The maintenance record does not change ownership," Susan replied. I handed Ben the equipment use and maintenance agreement. It permitted Daniel's company to operate, repair, and insure the machines. It did not permit sale, pledge, or title transfer without written trustee approval. Do you have executed approval? Ben asked Daniel. The authorization is at the table. Executed? No, Vanessa said I was refusing because I disagreed with their business strategy. That may be, Ben said. But I cannot sell equipment based on a signature someone hopes to obtain. He compared Daniel's consignment agreement with the blank transfer authorization. You represented the authority would be in place. I believed it would be. Belief is not authority. One by one, Susan matched the remaining serial numbers, both tractors. The planter, the sprayer, the grain cart, the portable drying system, 7 catalog numbers, 7 trust assets, 7 pieces Daniel could use but not sell. Ben returned to the microphone. Lots 34 through 40 are suspended pending clear documentation of authority to transfer. Vanessa's composure cracked. She accused me of fighting every change, wanting to control Daniel, and choosing machines over my granddaughter. I looked toward the barn. Linda had already moved Emily away from the rising voices. When I spoke, I did not raise mine. A child should never be the price of a signature. The yard fell quiet. Vanessa's face changed because I had described the exchange without the protective words she preferred. Trust, support, stability, consequences. Behind them had been one condition. Obey us, and perhaps you may have your granddaughter back. Naomi approached after Ben paused the auction. The bank needs to review the restructuring request immediately, she said. The primary proceeds are no longer available. The debt had not disappeared, it remained exactly what it had been that morning. $418,000. We had stopped the sale. Now we had to face what the papers could not fix. Naomi gathered us in the narrow office behind the packing building. The suspension removes approximately $560,000 in projected net proceeds, she said. We need a plan based on resources operations actually controls. Vanessa looked at me. This is what you wanted. I wanted you to stop selling property you did not own. Naomi asked Daniel when he first knew the total debt and why he had represented the auction proceeds as expected when I had never agreed. He admitted he knew the full number before bringing me the authorization. Did you understand that the trust owned the 7 assets? Naomi asked. Yes. Did you understand your mother's signature was required? Yes. Then why did you expect it? Daniel looked at me. Because she usually helps. A lifetime pattern reduced to 4 words, because she usually helps. I felt no satisfaction hearing it. Naomi asked whether he knew Emily's visits were being discussed in connection with the sale. Vanessa objected that family matters had nothing to do with the bank. They do not affect the credit decision, Naomi said. But they may explain why operations expected authorization without obtaining it. I placed Vanessa's printed message on the table. When you stop fighting us on the sale, we can discuss visits again. That was taken out of context, she said. What context changes it? You had ignored our boundaries. I did. You made me defend every decision about my own daughter. I did that too. Then why should I trust you with Emily? Set clear rules. Require confirmation. Limit food, schedules, and pickups. But those rules cannot become conditional on a property transfer. You separate things because it benefits you. I separate them because Emily is not an asset. I turned to Daniel. Did you know? I knew visits would not resume while the sale dispute continued. Did you object? No, I thought once the auction happened, the argument would end, and Vanessa might let me see Emily again. Yes. He had decided a temporary loss for me was acceptable if it bought him relief. Naomi proposed temporary restrictions until reporting stabilized. Daniel would not have unilateral authority for major borrowing, asset sales, or expenditures above $25,000. An independent financial controller would review major transactions. Daniel would continue managing farm production. Vanessa could continue running Harvest Kitchen within an approved budget. Vanessa called it punishment. It is risk control. Naomi said, Harvest Kitchen would pause expansion, discontinue its 2 weakest seasonal products, renegotiate distributor volume, and stop new packaging commitments without approval. Operations would seek a bridge extension, establish vendor payment schedules, reduce discretionary spending, and sell only non-core assets it legally owned. The plan would not erase the debt. It would make the debt survivable if lenders cooperated, and the company stopped spending future income before it arrived. Vanessa turned to Daniel. Say something. He looked at the restriction agreement. She's right. I signed things without knowing enough. You knew what I told you and you agreed. Yes, I did. He did not pretend she had forced him. He read every page before signing. Then he removed the company signing token from his key ring and placed it beside Naomi's folder. "I kept waiting for one of you to make it easier for me to do the right thing," he said. "That was never our job," I replied. Then I faced Vanessa. I should not have changed Emily's dress without asking. I should not have ignored the food and rest rules. I should not have picked her up without confirming. And I should never have made your authority sound optional in my house. Her expression remained guarded. "I made you feel as though you had to defend every decision about your own daughter. I am sorry." "You think saying that makes it disappear?" "No, you made me the strict mother while you got to be the safe place." "Yes," I said, "sometimes I did." The admission took some of the fight out of her. "Those were boundaries I crossed," I continued. "Emily was a boundary you used." Vanessa looked at the printed message. For the first time, she did not call it a misunderstanding. "I should not have written it that way." It's not the same as saying you should not have done it. I am not ready to have that conversation." "I understand." She said she would not restore the old grandma days. "I am not asking you to. I want a stable relationship with Emily. I do not need to become her third parent." That was painful to say, because part of me had loved being needed almost every day. But trying to reclaim the old arrangement would repeat the same conflict under kinder language. Daniel and Vanessa spoke to Emily together. He told her I had stopped them from selling things they did not yet have the right to sell. He said the conflict was not her fault and that I had never been angry with her. "You do not have to choose between your mother and your grandmother," he said. Emily looked at Vanessa. "I was trying to make rules because some rules were not being followed," Vanessa told her. "That was true," I said. "But you should not have felt responsible for whether the adults agreed," Vanessa added. Emily asked if she could hug me. I waited for Vanessa. Not because I needed permission to love my granddaughter, but because I had promised to stop treating her mother's place as optional. Vanessa gave a small nod. Emily crossed the room and put her arms around me. I held her gently, not like someone reclaiming something stolen, like a grandmother being trusted with a beginning. 3.5 weeks later, a vehicle turned onto my gravel drive. The first frost had browned the pumpkin vines. I was reviewing the controller's first complete report. The numbers were not good, but for the first time, they were honest. The bridge lender had granted a 90-day extension. 2 vendors accepted payment schedules. The distributor reduced its order instead of canceling it. Harvest Kitchen dropped 2 products and postponed expansion. Operations sold an older delivery van, spare shop equipment and unneeded irrigation parts. The proceeds were modest. They did not solve the debt. They proved recovery did not have to begin by taking what belonged to someone else. Daniel still managed the fields, but transactions above $25,000 required review. Vanessa continued leading Harvest Kitchen within a smaller budget. They had begun counseling. I stopped asking whether their marriage would survive. That answer belonged to them. When I opened the door, Emily stood on the porch in her red jacket. Daniel held up his phone. "I'll be back at 5. It was 1:30, 3.5 hours. Not the old grandma day, a beginning with a clear ending. Vanessa remained in the passenger seat. She did not wave, but she did not drive away until Emily entered the house. She had not joined us. She had also not canceled. That was all the progress available that afternoon. Emily asked for the farm book. I had moved it from the counter into a drawer so her empty place would no longer remain on display. She opened it to the blank page labeled Bennett Fall Day. "Dad said you stopped him from selling things he couldn't sell," she said. "That is close enough." "Mom said you made the business harder to save." "That may also be true." Her eyebrows lifted. "Both can be true, more often than people like." "Is Mom bad?" "No." "Was she wrong?" "In some things." "Were you wrong?" "In some things." "Was Dad wrong?" "In several things." She smiled faintly. "That sounds like Dad." I told her the business problems, the equipment decision, and the rules about visits belonged to adults. None of them were yours to fix. Mom said I could come because you agreed to follow the rules. I did agree. Does that bother you? Some rules protect children and help families trust each other, like no extra sweets, apparently. At 3, she ate the snack Vanessa packed. I did not add honey. The restraint felt almost ceremonial. Then we filled the blank page. It was cold enough for my red jacket. Clover's nose was wet. The biggest pumpkin was 43 pounds. The corn leaves sounded like paper when the wind moved through them. "Was the pumpkin 43 pounds? She asked. 42.5. That rounds to 43. You are definitely your father's daughter. Is that good? Some days. At 4:55, Daniel's headlights crossed the window. Emily closed the book. Can we finish the drawing next time? Yes. When is next time? Thursday after school. No, we'll confirm. The schedule is already confirmed. She smiled. Vanessa was driving when Emily climbed into the back seat. Emily held the red notebook against the window. Vanessa looked at it, then at me. She gave one small nod, not an apology, not forgiveness. Recognition. I returned it. For most of my life, I had believed holding a family together meant becoming the person who bent first. I had bent around Robert's temper, Daniel's mistakes, and Vanessa's resentment, until everyone expected my love to take whatever shape they needed. That fall, I learned there was a difference between flexibility and surrender. Some things survive because they bend. Others survive because, at the right moment, they refused to be moved. The equipment remained in the shed, the debt remained on the books. The family remained unfinished. But the red farm book was no longer lying beside an empty chair. Emily had taken it home, and for the first time in months I knew exactly when she was bringing it back.